centered over it, and I'm going to put my fleshy parts in my hands, and I'm going to push in, and it's going to force that clay up. So a lot of people call that pulling the clay up. That's a fallacy. You're not actually pulling it at all. I know one of the common error when you're learning is that you do pull some of it off. So you're not pulling, you're pushing it in and condensing it. And as you force it up, you'll keep your hands going up, and they'll narrow in a little. But at the very top of that cone, you'll just slide right off. You'll take the pressure off and slide off, so you're not pulling it off center or pulling a bit of clay off. So now to actually show you guys, while I talk about it. Wet, my hands are over, unfocused. Keep it going nice and fast. You draw it up into a cone. When it's in a cone like that, you can see how it's already starting to align. Make sure you've got the water. I'm sliding my hands up to where they were, and then I'm going to take my left hand, and it always has to be your left because it's going with the direction of the wheel head, and I'm going to take it over, so it's like a top hat. I'm just maneuvering it. It's still touching my fingers, and I'm going to push down with that fleshy part of my left hand. My right hand is going to be exactly sort of how it was when I was taking it up. It's going to be curved, the ballast, so it's going to contain, as I push that down, that is going to go back from being a tall cone into a flat, a wider, shorter one. So it'll end up being pushed with the wheel spinning against that hand, containing. And this hand, which starts like that, as this gets fatter and lower, will end up moving across accordingly. So it might be your whole thumb that's pushing down, and these fingers will sort of pull over. You'll see as I do it. So keep going nice and fast again. You've coned it up. Get up to the top, left hand over, and you push it down. It takes a fair bit of muscle. And that right hand is really, it's being pushed against this hand. I can really feel it. It does take some strength just to keep it steady and something for it to push against. So you do this a number of times. You can see that that's not centered. It's still wiggling. This particular wheel has a little bit of a tremor, so there'll always be a tiny bit like that at the end, and I'll show you how to deal with that. But for now, I'm just going to do the same thing. Wet it, over it, cone it, pressure on both sides, follow it up. Wheel going nice and fast. When it gets to the top, just gently let your hands slide off the top. Then you want to wet it again. Slide your hands to where they were, left hand over. Take my foot off that wheel, off that, at the very end I get the wheel going really fast, and at just that last moment I'll take my foot up, off, and hopefully that corrects a bit of the tremor so you can get a nice centered piece of clay. Let's see if it's centered. And the way you can tell is when you put your hand, you don't feel it moving at all. Okay, on the top it's centered. There's still a little bit here, so I'm going to cone it again. This is a process. You guys, it could take you, could be 2 or 3 times, could be a number more. Until you learn it, this is the most important process of all. I mean, it's like the foundation of a building. You've got to get your centering before you can really effectively make a pot. So I know you'll want to make one, so we'll do some that are slightly off-center too. So I'll get it going again, nice and fast. Wet, straight up. Slide, no pressure, off. Let it. Left hand over, going nice and fast. Take that off. Now that's centered now. So when it's centered and everything's really nicely compressed in there, you've lined all those molecules, you compress them down, the wheel head's been spinning, so it's sort of pushing them all in, compacting them. Now I'm going to wet it. It doesn't have to go quite as fast. I'm going to take my 2 thumbs, so I've got my triangle again, and locked in again, and I'm centered over, and I'm going to do what we did with